Patricia, what's Túsla's role within child safety in sport in particular?
I suppose the first thing, just to acknowledge Karen's story, and I suppose it highlights really the impact that child abuse has on children. I suppose the other part, it really reiterates that child protection is everybody's business, that we all have a role in protecting children and identifying children of abuse and ensuring that if anyone has a concern for a child, that they need to talk out and tell somebody about it. Túsla's role, I suppose, we have recently, we have the Children's First Act, which is just parts of it have been enacted. And from, I suppose, December the 11th, there will be a role on all mandated persons, which is particular professions. So, for example, if you're a physiotherapist a chartered physiotherapist working with a football team, and you become concerned for a child, you have a legislative requirement to report that concern to Túsla. Our role as well is to provide advice and support to parents and to other professionals if they have any concern about a child. Abuse can thrive in secrecy, and it's really important, I suppose, that if people have concerns, that they either seek out support. Most clubs and organisations have what we called designated liaison persons, and they have received child protection training so that if they have a concern, they can seek that support from the designated liaison person, who will in turn then support making a referral to Túsla. Our role then is to carry out an assessment on any referral, and we receive over 40,000 referrals in Túsla a year relating to child protection concerns.
So went up almost 10% according to your last annual report. That's 2016 compared with 2015.
That's right.
Do you in Túsla look at that as a positive or a negative, that the number of referrals is increasing?
I think probably it's a positive in that more people are becoming aware, and very much the ethos behind the Children's First National Guidance is that we all have responsibilities to protect children. It's not only the role of Túsla and it's not only the role of Gardaí, but everybody has. And the more awareness that's out there about that, I suppose that does help us to identify children who have either been harmed or at risk of abuse.
So mandatory reporting has been expanded essentially. Have there been many cases over the last couple of years of where people didn't report, people who had knowledge of abuse but kept it to themselves? Have there been cases taken?
I suppose in terms of, I wouldn't have the information exactly in terms of specific kind of data in relation to that, but certainly we are aware that people come back to us retrospectively and say, look, when I was 10 or 11, this thing happened to me, and now I'm concerned that that person is out there and maybe have access to children. And we very much have a role in relation to that. And I suppose assessing whether on foot of a historical allegation of abuse, whether or not a child now today is at risk because of that. And we certainly do get numerous referrals with regard to that.
The 1 in 4 charity said in its annual report in October that it was extremely worried that dangerous sex offenders may be continuing to abuse children, even though it has alerted Túsla to allegations against them. It said it sent 91 notifications last year. 12 clients made full statements to social workers. 3 of their cases were not investigated, while 5 were deemed unfounded by Túsla. Is this a case that Túsla is under-resourced?
No, I suppose the assessment of retrospective allegations of abuse, which would be something in terms of the 1 in 4 reports, it's an extremely, I suppose, complex and legalistic process whereby we have to ensure the rights of the person reporting the complaint, that we take them seriously and that we care for them and support them, exactly as Karen says. And at the same time, we also have to balance that with if a person has an allegation of abuse made against them, that we have to ensure that they're afforded their constitutional rights of fair procedure and due process. So there are occasions where we do not actually have sufficient evidence to say that we have reached an outcome of founded. That's not to say we still don't provide support and ensure that the people making the complaint receive the necessary support services.
46,000 referrals, 48,000 referrals a year is huge. How long is the process then if somebody does make a referral?
Yeah, I suppose our process is if someone makes a referral to Túsla, we have 17 areas across Túsla, and the details of those offices, intake services are available on our Túsla website. Once a referral comes in, we carry out what's called a screening. So that's whereby we screen whether or not there's, I suppose, information relating to the harm of a child. In the event that that referral identifies there's an immediate risk to a child, we straight away take action to protect that child. And that can be working with the child's parents, their extended family and other professionals, including the Gardaí. I suppose following that, we do what's called an initial assessment. And that's really about assessing how the child is, whether, I suppose, this is either a child protection concern, which is around neglect, abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, or a lot of our referrals can often be more that there's a family who require extra support. So it might be, for example, there's family issues such as addiction, substance misuse, mental health difficulties, domestic violence. And we very much have a role to work with parents to support them on those issues so that their child is kept safe.